Aloha and welcome to A League of Extraordinary Couples. Today, I'm delighted to have this opportunity to dive deep with a fellow couples therapist who's passionate about couplehood. She's coming to us from the East Coast, from her home in Virginia. I'd love to make a warm welcome for Alicia Munoz. Please say good day to our listeners, and we'll dive deep.
Aloha, good day.
Aloha and good day. It's lovely to have this time to connect with you. For our audience, I just want to make a plug straight away. I discovered Alicia in this wonderful world of technology because she is not only a couples therapist and passionate about couplehood, she's also an author. And so she's inspiring me to get my own work out there. She just released a new book, and it is called No More Fighting, 20 minutes a week to a stronger relationship. So we can do anything in 20 minutes, right? We're going to dive deep in our interview in 20 minutes, and my book is on the way, so I don't have it here to hold up, but I eagerly anticipate 20 minutes to dive deep. So the title of our interview today is all about emotional connection. So thank you once again, Alicia, for joining us and sharing your personal experience being in an extraordinary relationship. And with that, I'd love to dive deep quickly with, if you were to describe your relationship as a landscape, how would you describe that? What picture would you paint for us today?
So I see it as a sort of a combination between an Escher painting and a Salvador Dali landscape. It's sort of, those two things where time is fluid and drips, and where you think you're going upstairs, but you're really going downstairs, and you think you're opening a door, but it's a window or maybe a wall, it's sort of like, that's the way that I experience relationship, full of just surprises, unpredictable, really something that you need to approach with curiosity and a willingness to let go of preconceptions and assumptions.
Beautiful. I love those images of, the surreal landscape and what goes up, maybe it's going down, and just the mystery, the mysterious quality of relationships your relationship drawing you in for new discoveries. That's how I'm hearing you. Am I getting you?
Yes, you are. Very much so.
Is there more about that?
I think that for me, it's, been about letting go of what I want it to be or what I expect it to be, and really kind of being open to the surprises that the relationship brings. Mm-hmm. So, if you look at it like that, it can be as fascinating as a Dali painting,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so letting go of expectations and inviting in that sense of wonder. Beautiful, beautiful. So in that vein, if we were to distill this beautiful relationship, this extraordinary connection that you have, how would you describe what matters most?
Emotional connection is what matters most. So for me, I know for other couples, it might be shared interests, or it might be a passion, a goal, something that they're striving towards together. For me, it's really been about emotional connection because it's had to be. My husband and I, we are the quintessential opposites attract. So emotional connection's really been the only bridge initially that united us. I love poetry. He'd never read a poem in his life. I'm one of those sort of trust and, just spend everything you have and enjoy the moment. And he's one of those kind of save for a rainy day, always look at the potential risks of situations. And so we have so many differences that it's really been the emotional connection that's allowed us to connect. Because feelings, when you are able to really be present for them, are universal, and they're kind of the common currency of humanity, and that's something that really has helped us unite.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really hearing the precious quality of that. What a treasure to have your partner be someone that you have that emotional currency with, that connection that is universal, that you can tap into beyond the differences of saving or spending or however you approach the world. Am I getting you?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Is there more about that?
No, not for now.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, other than actually, there is more about that. I take that. It's really to create that emotional connection. We were both we'd done a lot of imago work prior to meeting. So it was the ability to actually create a space for that connection to happen that allowed us to come together and to begin to grow into more and more shared interests that weren't there initially. So I think that in addition to, emotional connection, even just having a willingness to create a space where that can happen is a huge first step for anybody in a relationship to begin to create an extraordinary relationship.
Yeah. I really appreciate that you're bringing up imago. That's another common denominator that you and I share in terms of that involvement in the intentional dialogue. And for our listeners who don't know imago, I just want to make a quick plug. It is a worthwhile blueprint, theory, idea around the relational space, how to invite in that willingness to tend to it, how to bring your best self forward in this emotional connection through the intentional dialogue. And that's one aspect of the imago therapy. So for those listeners who aren't familiar with what that was, I wanted to just make a plug. It's IMAGO. And is there anything else you'd like to add about imago to help our listeners get more familiar with it in a brief sense?
Yeah, I mean, imago, very briefly, is about mirroring, validating, and empathizing. So those are three simple but not necessarily easy steps that are foundational to imago. And once you can kind of get the hang of doing those three things in small containers with your partner, you're creating a foundation for secure attachment with one another. And so a lot of healing work can happen that you're maybe not even really aware of or only half aware of as you have or develop the secure attachment with your partner that you may not have had with a significant other growing up.
Right. I love that you bring up the secure attachment, because I really do feel that dialogical process provides that container for that safety and that connection. So yeah, I'm really hearing that's what matters most around emotional connection. And the fact that you both had that background, what a gift going into it, and being able to really recognize the extraordinary relationship that you hold. And I imagine there are times when some negativity may come up, or as we say in imago, conflict is growth trying to happen, that protest of loss of connection, whatever that is. How do you personally, Alicia, work with the negativity? How do you dissolve it in your relationship?
So, I wrote a whole book about it. So just saying, I have a little bit of experience with conflict, tiny bit of personal experience with it. And, it's really changed over the years. I think that early on in my relationship with my husband, we would go from, say, 0 to 100 in a conflict very quickly. And we would be in the intense kind of emotional reactivity, shutting down, getting stonewalling, criticism, defensiveness, sort of all that. And over the years, it's been a process of learning to recognize the signs that sort of a trigger is occurring, and also learning to developing self-care. So I think relational care and self-care are really like a helix. They're double helix. They're really intertwined. So it's been this kind of process of increasing self-care, increasing relational care, falling backward, 2 steps back, 1 step forward, gradually decreasing that escalation from a trigger, so that now when we're triggered, it might be from 0 to 10 rather than 0 to 100 or 0 to 20 or 0 to 5. And just awareness is also very helpful. Obviously, any practices you have that can help you develop that capacity to kind of witness and observe your own reactions. My husband and I have this kind of tool that we like a lot that I wrote about in my book, and it's called redos. So I don't know if you've ever seen a movie being made, but they have take 1, take 2, take 3. So you get all these chances to get the scene right.
Right.
So this is sort of drawing from that. And a redo is essentially when your partner comes in, they're stressed from work, you're on an email, they say, what are you doing? And you snap back at them, and suddenly you're kind of in this place of disconnection. So if you're prepped, you can say to your partner, hey, can we redo that? Can we do a double take on that? Let's start from the beginning. Mm-hmm. And if your partner's game, and you've benefited from these things before, and you know that it's worth it, even though you feel ridiculous and silly initially, they might begin again, knock on the door, enter, and then, say, hi, honey, how are you? And you might say, oh, I'm so happy to see you. It's such a pleasure. I've missed you. And then, you embrace. And even if it feels performed, it will often take you out of that kind of reactive place where everything feels so personal and so serious. So that's one of our favorite ways of dealing with conflict.
Wonderful. I love that you're giving us one clear example of how to make that work. And you're calling it, let me see if I'm getting you, the redo, which is, and if I heard you, you said if you're prepped for it, which I take to mean if you've practiced it before and it's not quite as awkward and you both are willing, because if only one person's willing, it may not go over as well.
It may not go so well. Yeah, no, it's always good to have your partner's buy-in for these things to kind of set them up to be successful.
Yeah, yeah. So that sense of the redo is one aspect of dissolving the negativity. I'm also hearing just the measurement of it, the actual scale. If we were to say 0 is it's just not there, 100 is it's the most intense negativity you've had, that you don't experience that in your relationship anymore. It's much lower on that scale of intensity. And I would guess it perhaps extends into not just the intensity, but also the frequency of how often they happen and the duration of how long they last. I'm guessing you're noticing that on various scales. And as you said, and again, it brought up that wonderful image of the intertwining of not just the self-care of the awareness of, oh, I'm feeling physiologically flooded. What do I need to do? But also that relational awareness. So could you say a little bit more about that relational care?
Yeah. So relational care, Terry Real has this saying, a phrase that he uses that, that it's really about, it's about holding your relationship in high regard. So relational care, a lot of it it's the mental construct that you carry of your relationship. It's, and not just mental, but I'm kind of holding my heart as I say this, it's sort of, it's in your heart, it's in your body. It's this choice to really view your relationship through a positive lens and, see it in the ways that it nurtures you, in the ways that it stretches you, in the ways that it challenges you to grow and become more of who you truly are and to reach your full potential. So it's that ability to really hold your relationship in high regard, even when, you want to strangle your partner, and even when they feel, they feel like you're abandoning them or you're not present for them. So that's kind of, I would say, the starting place, at least for me, is making sure that my thoughts are supportive of my relationship.
It sounds very contemplative, very meditative, to be aware of what's going on within you, but also around you and the space between you and your husband, and have that, yes, it's mental, but as you're holding your heart, it's a whole bodied, embodied awareness that this matters to me, this feeds me, this challenges me, this helps me grow, it stretches me, and to hold that in the awareness as well as what's going on interpersonally, it sounds a lot like the both and that I love to talk about. Yeah,
exactly. That was so gorgeously put. Yes.
Thank you. I think what I'm loving is So my passion in couplehood as well is to help people see that they too can have extraordinary relationships, that it's not just for these elite few or for these people who that's all they focus on, because what you're really speaking to is that, okay, here's what I'm doing. I'm working on the computer. I have my own thing going on. When my beloved comes in and I'm not prepared for it, I may snap, but I can say, oh, let's do a redo. And then that awareness of the bigger picture comes back in. And so I really appreciate that in terms of dissolving negativity, remembering self and other, or self and relationship. So is there any more about that?
What she said, yes, that was awesome.
Yeah, great. So with that, there comes this opportunity in intimate relationship to really deepen connection. And if you could share a little bit about how you do that in your personal relationship and maybe offer a take home for our listeners, that would be great.
Sure. So, so deepening, I think one of the simplest and most potentially useful things I could sort of recommend to your viewers is that they begin to incorporate little love rituals in their day, every day. Create these 1, 2, 3 minute long, sometimes maybe 10-minute long at the end of the day, love rituals that become habits. And it really depends on you and your partner, on your schedules, your sleep schedules, your wake schedules. Do you have kids? Do you have pets? Do you live in, a sort of mobile home? Do you live in an apartment? Do you live in the forest? Do you, what are the circumstances? And then from that to really create these moments where you wake up in the morning. Do you hug before you get out of bed? Do you spend a minute or two checking in with each other in terms of any dreams that you remember? Do you embrace before you go your separate ways? Do you text during the day and just say, hey, I'm feeling these 5 ways right now. How are you feeling? And, when you reconnect at the end of the day, how do you reconnect? In a way, do you give your partner space because they need that for a little while before they can kind of decompress? And, do you give each other 2 minutes of gratitudes before you go to sleep as a love ritual? No matter what, even if you're pissed at each other, even if you're feeling disconnected. So it's really building in this sort of starting point where you're already kind of caught by this web of connectedness that's built into your day. It is a really important way, I think, of creating and deepening connection, so that you're not kind of waiting for that moment that never comes, or a week goes by and you haven't looked at each other in the eye, or pressed foreheads and synced your breath, or done something that really allowed you to feel the flow of affection between you.
Absolutely beautiful. I love the poetic and lyrical imagery that you're giving, and the fact that you just said press foreheads and share breath. That's a tradition we do here in Hawaii, and it's a beautiful way of deepening that connection. And what did you say? Caught in the web of interconnectedness. Just in that, I feel my whole nervous system kind of surrender and soften. It's like, oh. And dare I say, this is my language here, it's a power greater than me. And if I can surrender into it, there's a sense of being held, as we talked about earlier with the dialogue, that containment, that even when we're not talking, yes, we have these moments of transition, but we can be held by that. And there's a sweet surrender there. And I love that. So I really wanted to highlight that, caught in the web of interconnectedness. Thank you for that. Is there more you'd like to share about that?
Oh, well, I feel so heard and received. Thank you. I think the last thing that I would want to emphasize is that a lot of our habits are ones we haven't chosen in our day. Our jobs, our obligations, our responsibilities, the things that have to be done. And those can kind of take over the connection. And so I think that's one of the reasons that I love, these love rituals, because they're chosen. They're chosen and they become habitual. but not in a way that's deadening. They become habitual in a way that's life-giving. So it's something that anybody can choose, again, with their partner's buy-in. And I'm always a believer that when both partners begin to reap the benefits of these things, it becomes easier to do things that feel odd or cheesy or, kind of like, well, why would I do that? That's strange. It benefits you so much that you start to kind of be creative about it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, that the sense of choosing our habits in a way where they become empowering and life-giving and actually feed us instead of the deadening, numbing.
Yes.
That's very inspiring. And I really appreciate you're giving us a little taste today, a little opportunity to get a sense of your flavor on all of this. And then we can all go read the book. And in the meantime, I'm wondering if you have a free gift offering that you would love to share with our audience.
I do happen to have one. I've written this short book called Mindful Loving, and it's an ebook that's really just tailored to helping couples develop a little more awareness in their relationship. Mm-hmm. And there should be a link below this that people can click on to get.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, again, just a little taste. And what I'm really sensing is that opportunity to do the little things to build the life you want, and that it is entirely possible. You've helped make it more possible in my mind today, and I love being influenced in that way. So what you say makes sense to me. In summary, that sense of choosing emotional connection, feeling that gratitude for it, sharing that gratitude as a love ritual on a daily basis. And I imagine you're feeling grateful for having the opportunity to keep on keeping on in your own relationship and share that and help others. It seems like it's an additional reinforcement to that web of interconnectedness. Is that how you might be feeling?
Absolutely, I am. And I'm feeling very honored that you have me on this show and that you're giving me this opportunity to kind of share more about these little things that we can do to kind of change the destination. One little shift of the navigational tool can lead us to a whole new place. Right. So thank you.
I love it. And I want to just do a quick apology. I've talked so much. I wanted to hear more from you, but I want to read your book, and you get me going, and I get what's called chicken skin here, where there's that sense of like, yes, yes, yes. And so when I feel that resonance, and even that we use the word couplehood, not many people use that word. It's like, we're passionate about couplehood. How do we do this gig called life with greater enthusiasm? So I'm going over a little bit on our time just because I'm so inspired by you, and I really want to inspire our audience to check you out. Though I have not seen the book, I can only imagine it's as good as our conversation here. And I'm loving your Instagram account. So I want to just make a shout out for that because it's beautiful. The graphics, it's just little doses of inspiration. Because when I have that moment of, I want to vaporize my husband, I can remember, that's a choice. Is that a choice that's going to get me where I want to go? No. Yeah. And I can let go of the shame. I'm a relationship coach. I shouldn't think that. No, I can let go of that. I'm a human being and I can get inspired. And you're one of the influencers on my mindset around couplehood. And so again, I'm just covered in chills. It's like, yes. Let's spread this word. Let's inspire each other and,
absolutely.
Get over ourselves so that we can be a force for good in the world, because you matter and your relationships matter. And I really want to thank you for your time today. So on that note, aloha and be well. I'm going to say goodbye to our audience.